There we go. We are live. So there we go. Yeah, evening, everybody, and welcome to the July edition of the Welsh Azure user group. Thank you, everybody, for joining and coming along, and thank you to our speakers for this month. Just the usual preamble. Let's kick straight into it. So, as always, we are a community user group headed by Mr. Matt Fatunka and myself, John Lunn, and we reach out to the community, invite professional speakers, amateur speakers, whatever it may be. If you want to give speaking a shot, then please reach out. If you've got something to talk about in and around the wonderful world of Azure, then we'll absolutely get you on, give you that chance to kind of give it a go if you've never done it before. But equally, we like to intersplice with some of the more seasoned veterans as well. And yeah, it's a bit of a mix of everything. So look, feel free to add us on LinkedIn if you've got any ideas or want to speak. Just reach out to me on that, and we can make your dreams come true in that regard. As usual, another couple of good speakers, well, fantastic speakers again for you this evening. Unfortunately, Gauri has got a family emergency, so she can't join us in person, but I do have a recorded version of her talk. So we're going to change it up a little bit, but we've got James joining us. James is going to take us through that career journey of transformation in data analytics, which is no doubt going to be informative and a bit of fun. And then what we'll do is I think we'll probably have the quiz and then put Gary's video on afterwards. So timing wise, I've not changed the bottom time. We'll probably do the quiz in between James, and you can see I've not even updated the times. I've just shifted them around. That's how great I am at updating PowerPoints on the fly. Evening D, good to see you, sir. So yeah, we'll kick off with James first in a second. We'll have the quiz and then we'll do Gary. So this slide is completely irrelevant because it's all wrong. But there we go. The only other thing to add, the quiz, as usual, we've got a couple of Amazon gift cards up for grabs there, £25 gift cards. And again, our friends at Packet are giving away a couple of the ebooks. So provided we get a nice crowd for the quiz, we should be able to give away four spot prizes. So we've got Mastering Azure Virtual Desktop second edition to give away. It's an ebook, and we've got the Atlas and DevOps Toolchain cookbook. So stick around just after James's chat for that. Few housekeeping rules, as always. Please, everybody, please be courteous to each other. We're all grown adults, so we can speak nicely, and we're in a fun, friendly atmosphere. That there are no silly questions. So that's the idea, right? We're all here to learn. So look, if something the presenter is saying, or you've got a question, drop it in the chat. Please do stay on mute. Don't interrupt the speaker if you can. Unless the speaker asks you to come off. Otherwise, leave your question or your comment or anything in the chat. And we can get that addressed either, the speaker's discretion. Then, please do leave us feedback. I'll drop a link, a QR code at the end of the event if you're around. Love a little bit of feedback. Just gives us a bit of a steer for the next sessions. And like I say, the quiz, please. It's not the second speaker. We've changed that now because Gary can't make it. So we'll do that after James's talk. More importantly, it's a learning environment. So please, everybody, be interactive and enjoy the sessions. Um, Quick shout out, as always, to our sponsors, which I'm going to get onto the right slide. There we go. So first up, Servant, always, they're a Microsoft Pure Play partner. They've been brilliant. Just chatting with James about them. They kind of started up with us back in the COVID months, if you can remember back in 2021 when virtual became a thing, right? So Servant have been with us since then. Great bunch of guys, great great Microsoft partner. They do a lot of good work, and I get the pleasure with working with them in my day job as well as obviously them sponsoring the user group now. So big shout out if you want to learn more. Then I'm just popping their slides on the screen. Feel free to reach out to them. But yeah, big shout out to Des and the team at Servant. And the usual thing again, same applies to Credit Safe, locally HQ down in Cardiff. Great to have them on board as always. We know they've been interactive. They've given a couple of talks now at the group as well. So yeah, like I say, if you want to know a little bit more about Credit Safe, that's who they are. I know that they're always looking to recruit from these kinds of events. So if you're looking for a role in cloud or otherwise, feel free to reach out. I know they're always looking for great tech resources. Um, last but by no means least is our newest sponsor, Packet. So, as I mentioned earlier, it was great to have them join a good few months back now, actually. So, we've had the pleasure of being able to give away some great spot prizes as ebooks over the last few months. So, nothing changes this month either. Like I mentioned earlier, we've got a couple to give away, so we'll do that as part of the quiz. And I've rattled through that in record time. I normally have one or two other little intro bits and pieces. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you straight over to James and let James crack on with his talk. So I don't know if I was right. So it's from Rockstar to Rookie, James. You're doing this back in time, are you? Is that the reason?
No. All will become clear very shortly.
Oh,
It's
wondered
a very deliberate title.
Yeah, well, I noticed. I thought, there we go. But no, thank you for joining us, James. Really appreciate your time. I'm going to hand straight over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try and share. I can't see the button because it's gone small because I put it to one side. Right, so I should be sharing my deck. Is that can't display a problem? Oh, this is fun. Let's try a different way. 2 seconds. Nothing like a live problem.
Just taking the slides down, see if that helps.
Yeah. Well, I tried going from PowerPoint to Teams. Now I'm going to go from Teams to PowerPoint, in case that was the problem. Which maybe getting there. Promise you.
It's looking better. There we go.
There we go.
All yours, James.
Thank you. That was so professional. We got there in the end. That's it. Perseverance. There you go. That's one of the messages. So the reason for the title is it is a story about someone who was a rock star, not me, and he became a rookie quite late on in life, and it was interesting to be able to help with that journey when I've been around data analytics and the tech world for a long time, because when he was struggling with things that I knew how to fix, it's actually quite a difficult thing to communicate of, well, the answer is this. Well, why is it this? Because I've got 10 years of experience. It's this. So that was a learning experience for sure. So we're going to start with Chris's journey, because as data professionals, we pride ourselves on our technical expertise, and quite often it's assumed the proficiency of whoever you're speaking to. You assume to be the same, and then when it's not, it can be. Hopefully, they tell you that. Sometimes they don't. So this is bear in mind that people will be somewhere on the journey. So this is Chris's journey, though. There we go. So I decided to be a mentor because, like I say, I've been doing this for a long time, and I want to give back. That's why I do these talks. I do technical talks as well, but in a similar vein, I wanted to help someone. Chris wasn't in a great situation. He had kids at home, but he was working truck driver, and he had to be away all the time. We sat together. We were both on a charity group together, so it's something called the Round Table. They're all over the country, all over the world, actually. And we do good for people. So I already knew he had the right or a similar mindset to me, because we're both in the same group. You learn more by teaching as well. So things I thought I knew inside and out, I learned because I got to see them from a different perspective. And I brought in
my meetup group right now. On my meetup right now. Yeah.
Oh, I'll check who's off mute. Sorry, Carl.
Sorry, I was cool. So I spoke with other mentors and professionals. I went to SQL Bits in Farnborough this year, and I saw a brilliant presentation called Allyship, Sponsorship, and Mentorship, or maybe a slightly different order, but it's the three ships. It was Remerit, and Buck Woody, and it was their experiences being those three. So I was speaking to Buck about being a mentor, and I thought, yeah, let's do this. Actually, that was last year. So we decided to be a mentor. Yeah. So my background, I've been doing tech for as long as I can remember, 20 years, 2 decades, more. Seems like a very long time. And my industry experience is finance services, insurance services, quite highly regulated businesses. So I felt like I had something to give. So we did. Right. So this is Chris. We finally meet Chris, the man. He is very easy to spot in a crowd. Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. Someone else pointed out the mic isn't great. I might have to buy an external. I don't know what's happened there. Is it okay? Can you hear me enough to continue?
Yeah,
I can make
think
out what
yeah,
you're saying.
we
It's fine. Yeah, but it's just
we tried to fix it, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll buy an external mic. I think it's if it's going to be a problem. Weird, no one said it before. Is possibly people don't care when it's in just a normal meeting situation. Right, so Chris, very recognisable in the crowd. He has dreadlocks down to his calves, which is fairly unusual. And he is a rock star. He literally plays in a rock band. He plays six-string bass, so it looks like a guitar, but then if you hear it, it's definitely a bass. He wanted to get into a career which had, it had legs, it had years ahead of him, and he could progress and get better. And so every job he's ever done, he's done really well at. But they didn't necessarily have the progression opportunity. So we were chatting about it. I wanted to help someone. He wanted to be helped. It was great. Two worlds collided, and it worked out really well. So, this is also Chris. He's in the band he's in now called Powdered Toast Men. Sorry. If you go on YouTube and find some of his stuff. But if you ever get to Chester in the north, obviously it's northwest of the UK. Think so. The Powdered Toast Men. Going slightly off script. I'll open that. No. That is an American version of the Powdered Toast Man, which I didn't know existed. No, he's in the UK. And they also have very high vis makeup on. So it was a lot of people think you look at Chris, and this happens all the time. You get people in tech who are diverse in any number of ways. Could be neurodiverse, could look diverse, could be diverse from their background, their upbringing, their experience, whatever. And to me, it doesn't matter. If you focus on transferable skills, there are so many skills. Lots of people say they're not data people, and then you just ask a question and go a little bit further in, and like, okay, so what do you do with if you're planning a journey? Do you go on and look at the best routes and find what's the quickest time, or am I going to be delayed on my journey? Yeah, then you are a data person. You may not think you are, but everything you do is data. So getting over that mental hurdle of I can't do this. This is a highly technical, highly numeric, highly mathematical. I know people who with dyspraxia and dyscalculia who are amazing data analysts. Yes, they probably have to try a bit harder in some regards. They face some challenges, but they're absolutely capable of it. But yeah, so the transferable skills part of it, showing versatility. So Chris was a truck driver. He was a pastry chef. He was a hospital, an operating department practitioner, helping out, making sure that any instruments used were retrieved. You need to end with the same number of things you start with. And so it just shows versatility to be able to work between all these different ways of, all these different careers. It's similar when you get a different data set. So if you're looking at a medical data set or IMDb data set or Lego data set, they're all different, but you can still apply common practices. And especially the ODP one and the truck driver one, their resilience. So this is if you are choosing to mentor someone, these are the three things I would look for. And it's the three things I found in Chris. The resilience, that operating department practitioner, things can go horribly wrong in that situation. Truck driving mentally takes for a long drive, it takes a lot to stay focused and also it's just not necessarily down to resilience, but it's the number of different skill sets when you're driving a big wagon. Accuracy, it's so look for transferable skills, but look from within yourself. If you're looking to get into data analytics, and you feel it's insurmountable challenge, just try and do something that works. So find a data set. If you're into music, find a music data set. If you're into science, find something that you know yourself and have an interest in, because then as you're learning, you can bring that knowledge. That knowledge isn't useless. It's massively useful to have domain knowledge. So especially when you're learning, that would be a trick I would recommend. Oops, sorry, it just takes a bit of time. There we go. So this is the journey of Chris and anyone else who is getting into data analytics at first. So the biggest challenge for Chris at first was understanding what role he would be, because data analysis, what is that? What's the crossover between data analysis, data engineering, data science? You hear all these things with data in, but what do they actually mean? Because weirdly, most data analysts I know don't spend a whole lot of time analyzing data, because I tend to speak to people on the Power BI side of it, where they are producing reports for others to consume and get insight. So they themselves may not be analyzing data that much. They will be to make sure that the numbers are correct and they can give interesting things for people to look at. But if you're talking about pure analysis, most data analysts I know don't really do it. So that's really weird if you're getting into the industry. How do this title doesn't fit the job that you think you're going to be doing? So we spent a lot of time researching, learning, showing just the different parts. The visual parts, the Power BI, the code side, Python, the less strict code side in terms of SQL. I say less strict because it doesn't matter with the indenting. So they're very different. But once you've got one of especially in the code skills, once you've got one, the next one becomes easier, and I think you can move from one to the next quite readily. Still takes effort, but that was an intro to, don't think you have to learn to be to program IBM Watson or something massively numerical and very, very tough. Start with something start with something that delivers some value, and then iterate. It's very much an iterative process. It's not go away for a day, come back with something amazing. It's go, have a look at the data, come back with something interesting. And from interesting, you can build up to amazing. So it was very overwhelmed by what appeared to be a big steep learning curve. We got him signed up with an official apprenticeship in the UK. So he had a call every week, an hour's call where they would set a Python challenge was the first one he started on, I think. And it was hugely overwhelming, because if you look at the whole curriculum, they were going to go over the 2 or 3 years. It's huge, and they didn't seem to start at the beginning. They started, they just jumped around a little bit. So we really struggled with it. So a lot of my role wasn't the teaching; it was the encouraging and making sure that you will get this. Yes, when you go to education after you've been away for a long time, it's mentally draining, it's tiring, but you've got this. You will definitely get it. So despite difficulties, or maybe because of them, I never really know, we drew inspiration from his experience of learning to play guitar. because he learned by ear without any lessons, and he's a really good guitarist. So if you want proof to yourself or to others that you can learn, that's perfect. So again, if you're mentoring someone or self-talk, you've definitely learned stuff in the past that you just pick up knowledge somehow. That will happen. It will come. It's not that challenging if you break it up bit by bit. Don't try and eat the whole cake. Take a bite first. So we talked about the theory and the principles, helping them to build. So my thoughts were, let's start with theory, and how data is fashioned. And so I'm if I'm ever given a choice on what to work on, SQL all day, every day. Love SQL. I get a personal thrill out of being able to achieve certain like niche hard things. Yeah, but even the easier stuff, if it's giving someone the ability to make a difference, whether it's business or personally, like a charity working for them, I like them equally. I get something from being able to fix a problem for somebody, and SQL helps me do that a lot. So we went with SQL first, and he gradually found his groove of it. He was, enjoying the language, and when things click, and you can see people like, oh, okay, that's what that meant, and you have to replay and go back a month and go over what you've just done, because now it makes more sense now that something's clicked. But whilst he was getting a fair coverage of the language, so just the functions and things like that, he was struggling to really realize the potential of it, and how would you use it in a real world situation. So as his knowledge grew, we focused on the power of the possible. So we got nice disturbance in the force, because we'd had a day where we decided to put on Star Wars masks for 10 minutes. Why not? Do it makes you laugh. So he persevered in his learning journey. He was learning Python, so I started him on SQL, because it's what I know best, and that's the easiest thing to train. He then moved to Python with the apprenticeship, and as a beginner with no prior like coding experience, he found Python really challenging, because it's the syntax, and you can go, if you don't move things in appropriate tab, or tab over amount, it breaks. And as a SQL person, I'm going, why is that not working? It looks right. And then, okay, move that over and it works. Weird. So as a mentor, I thought I should know the topics, which is why we did SQL. Python, I have now learned, partly with along with Chris, but at the time I didn't. So what that taught us as a pairing was using the tangential skills. So picking a data set that meant something to him, or having an outcome you're aiming for, which actually means something. You can make use of it. So I think he did analysis of his band's set their playlist, length of time and the order, and it meant something to him, so he got something out of it. So what I will say is, I touched it a little bit earlier about he felt mentally exhausted because he was learning. The tech industry, personally, my experience of it, and everyone's experience is obviously different. I think it's highly pressured, and with tight deadlines, long work hours, and so this is the big one really, is the constant need to learn new skills, because new things come out, you need to learn it. It takes a while to back off a bit and go, well, I don't need to know that. I don't need to know everything, the latest greatest. If we've gone from this to that, yeah, it's better. Depends on your viewpoint. But if you've got something you enjoy doing and you're good at it, you don't necessarily have to learn the latest next great bit great big thing. People are always going to need the original thing. So Jake, you need to take the pressure off yourself if you can. That's very difficult in the early days because there's just so much to learn. So if you're going to be a mentor, it's crucial. Check in regularly with your mentees, check how they are, offer flexibility, because Chris wasn't working on any business-driven tasks. There was no pressure. If you get your assignment done today, Wednesday, next week, doesn't really matter. We're not going to lose money because of it. No one's going to be upset if you don't. So that was really, if you can de-pressure as much as possible, that's my recommendation. And again, the same if it's your personal journey into data analytics. Some people recommend just getting a job as a junior. I would caution, be aware of your own personality. If that works for you, great. If it doesn't, don't do it, because you might land, get massively overwhelmed, and then decide you don't want to be in this career anymore. And that's a shame because it's a good career for people. And also, if you land in a company that doesn't make it easy for their newbies, I'd question whether that's the right place for you to learn. But it's not that easy to move from job to job, so sometimes you have to stick it. But I would be vocal if this is too much. Yeah, so I always advocate for mental health. I'm a mental health first aid practitioner. All that really means is I know how to ask questions. I am definitely not a mental health consultant or anything like that. The best thing is ask people how they're feeling. Genuinely, they will tell you. Just the fact of being asked can be a massive relief to people. So now I am proud to say Chris is no longer employed with me, which sounds really weird, but the aim wasn't to get him employed with me in the future for 10 years or anything like that. It was he wanted a career change. I wanted to mentor someone. We got to a point where he'd gone past what I could do because of time spent to help people learn. And he really needed to be in an organization where there were, because I'm a consultant, I get the hard tasks. So it was really difficult to share that, to give him a bit of work to do, but I'm getting given all this super hard stuff. So I just couldn't pass in the lower level stuff to keep his confidence up. And I don't mean that disparagingly at all when I say low level. What I mean is, the less experienced is all I really mean by that. So he is with SIPFA, which is a Royal Chartered Accountancy body, where they train. If you want to do accountancy in the public sector, you have to be SIPFA qualified. So it's quite relatively highly regulated. But he's doing data analytics. He's doing SQL. He's doing data. So he loves SQL. I don't know whether I gave him that love, or whether he just happened to love it as well. But he's doing database deployments, upgrades, things like that, which he didn't think he could have done that 18 months ago. It wasn't even on his horizon or something he thought he could do. And now he's doing it on a daily and doing really well at it. So I asked Chris for some comments about how he felt about the mentorship. And the words he shared were, having a mentor who believed in me, even during the toughest times, made all the difference. I couldn't have done it without that support. So, which is great. I feel good for me. A feel good factor, sorry, for me. So I recommend that if you're trying to get into data analytics or you're being a mentor, the support. And I've laboured that point. And we haven't gone much on tech to date. So I will do that. So I started him on SQL. Then the apprenticeship people did Python, and then because he's an artistic kind of person, he's like Power BI. The visuals will go there, and I may get shot for saying this. Some people are very particular about this, but Excel. Start with Excel. Excel is amazing. Just the concept of data being in rows and columns, that real basic, that if you have not done any technical, if you've not used Excel or haven't used it for many years, trying to go for SQL, which is all about moving that type of data around, or Python, where you create arrays that are in that same structure, it's really hard if you can't picture it, you've never worked with it. Excel is amazing for get your data in there, put a pivot table on top of it as an example, and then you have aggregates. So you're starting to learn things about, I can aggregate by row. It's tougher to aggregate by column. So Excel is the unsung hero, I would say, in data analytics training, and I would recommend starting with Excel. You can get, well, now Python is in Excel. That's a different world. But yeah, you can learn so many concepts, and Excel's been around for so long. Chandu was so I did Visual Basic, VBA, Visual Basic Applications years and years and years ago, and I was doing Excel years ago. And Chandu was my go-to resource, and I love the fact that he's still around. I think he's now doing Power Apps stuff rather than Excel. But there is longevity. And Excel continues to be updated. If you're looking at Power BI as a career, Excel's still relevant because you've got Power Query, which if you get good at Power Query in Excel, it's the same skill in a different interface essentially. So yeah, that's my play for Excel being the king of the software to start with, or tools to start with. And there's a quote from Nelson Mandela: "So the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." It's learning is incremental, but then when we get to the other side, there's some curve. I can't remember what it's called. It's a knowledge curve where you start off knowing you know nothing, then you know something, but know there's loads more to come. Then you learn, then you know that you know a lot, and you probably think you're, the bee's knees, you know everything. So you're at the crest, and then you drop down where you realize actually there's so much I don't know, and you devalue yourself again. So the interesting thing, if you're training somebody up, or if you're learning yourself, we covered make sure you look after them, look after yourself as you're learning. This is the flip side where you've learned a little bit. You get imposter syndrome, where how can I possibly be paid to do this where I just type on a keyboard? I get better money than my parents did doing really hard work. And then you start to judge yourself, is my work really worth this much money? And it's a difficult one, especially if you're having that internal self-talk. So I would say acknowledge your achievements, and don't underrate your knowledge and experience. So I've got a good friend of mine, Marcin Gawinski. We were talking the other day about some web, when he's trying to troubleshoot, he automatically opens up a part of the browser and finds the problem and fixes it. And I'm sat there going, what's that? Oh yeah, it's just like, no, that's learn. That's something that's important. That's a skill. So don't undersell. Just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's easy for everyone else. So still the same thing where if you're training somebody, be conscious that what you assume to be easy might not be, and you need to be careful with that, because you can go so fast, and if you don't have the right relationship, all you're going to do is come back a couple of days, the work's not going to be done, they're going to feel really bad because they didn't get it done and didn't speak up. You're probably going to feel bad because you didn't understand that they were struggling. So yeah, massively about relationship building. If you are a mentee, seek support and guidance. You can get a mentor at any stage in your career. You could be the top of your you've been doing it for years, you're the go-to person that someone goes to ask a question. Doesn't mean you can't have a mentor, because they will help you in various ways. It doesn't have to be technical. A mentorship is really really important. And I thoroughly recommend, if you go on YouTube, look for the it's Sequel Bits, and it's the 3 ships, I believe, of sponsorship, allyship, and mentorship. And they do a really good talk and explain the difference between them, the 3 different things. There we go. In terms of building confidence, look at where you come from. So if you can keep a diary of what you've been learning, so if you're super organized and you chart out what you're going to learn over the next 12, 24 months, then that's great. You can tick it off, and as you get to it. That's not the way my mind works. I go from here to there to there, and you pick up a bit of knowledge all over the place, but then it's really hard to state where you're, or it's hard to say how much you know, because you haven't done this and then this and then this. So try and acknowledge your achievements. So if you pass a Microsoft exam, as an example, that's a big deal. So just take that in for a bit, that you have passed the entire curriculum of whatever's required for the exam, and all of that is in your brain. So you know all of that. You passed. Also, when you don't pass, don't be too hard. So I've posted on LinkedIn. I set myself a challenge of doing an exam every week for 8 weeks, I think it was. Microsoft were giving free exams as part of some a program. So I thought, right, I'm gonna get them done. I got to week 5 or 6. I think I failed one of the exams. I publicly posted, because nobody posts about the failures, and if you feel like everybody passes it first time, they don't. They just don't post about the failures. I think it should be better practice. Just missed it by a bit. I know what I need to learn to get it the next time. And I got to week 5 or 6, I think, and I just couldn't do it. To do an exam every weekend it was far harder than I thought it was going to be. So I was thankfully felt comfortable in myself just to go, right, I announced this challenge, and the reason I announced the challenge is that's the kind of thing that drives me forward. If I put out there that I'm going to do something, that's kind of the pressure I need to make me do it. Otherwise, I just won't do it. But luckily, I'm comfortable enough with myself that I got to the point where I just had to put my hands up and go, look, I can't do this. I need a break. So I have the confidence to do that. The summary of all of that, my advice for others: embrace lifelong learning. You're always learning, whether it's a software skill, whether it's people skills, whether it's just knowledge going in, memory, where you know something. A lot of times learning feels like it has to be, you need to learn how to do something. Not necessarily. If you remember a fact, that's still learning. So you're always learning. Try and keep going, because I find for myself, I get bored, and I don't want that. So in data analytics, that's why I love data analytics, and tech in general, that it's different every day. I could turn up, so I go from client to client on Power BI work mostly at the moment, and it's always Power BI desktop, and it's always a data source. It could come from a variety of places, but it's still different every time, because it's different data. I'm speaking to different people, and they will have different ways they like to see data. They'll have different relationships between HR and finance, and difference is good. Resilience and adaptability. Yeah, I mean, again, that's just knowing yourself. You are more resilient than you think you are, and others are as well. But it's also okay to say, a lot of people misunderstand resilience as always being able to get something done, or that's one I've heard, which doesn't sit in my head. it's okay to say I didn't get it done. The resilience is to come back at it at a later time when you want to have another crack. And again, might not happen. That's okay. Resilience means you keep trying and doing things. You don't get knocked permanently. Getting a knock temporarily, that's nature. But if you can, so the way you foster that as a mentor is don't knock people, don't belittle people. If you pass a test at 100, I mean, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't put their pass mark, because it shouldn't matter if it's 75 or 100, it's a pass. You don't need to knock people. If they get 75 and you get 100, it doesn't matter. You both passed. So you have an ability to help other people be resilient by not knocking them. Effective communication skills with Chris, we just figured out how he worked. I could see sometimes when I was talking to him that it was really handy that he actually worked out of my office. I think it's more difficult remote. You see people's eyes glaze over, and acknowledging that and being okay to be like, cool, think I've lost you. That's not a bad thing. Where did I lose you? And let's start from there. I mean, it's not, if you talk at somebody, that's not effective communication skills. You're just talking at them. Talking with it's okay to possibly overwhelm someone if you spot it and stop and then work on it. Because it's effective if you're both getting something out of the conversation is how I would measure it. And build a supportive network. Microsoft is fantastic anyway. SQL within that as a subset, amazing. And Power BI within that subset, I think the Microsoft community is such a supportive, friendly community. But you do have to, I don't want to say get involved because maybe that's not your thing, but be aware there are people who will help you. So if you have a question, you can ask it on LinkedIn, you can ask it on Reddit, you can ask it wherever. You can ask it in meetups like this. But if you don't engage, I think it's tough to be. You have to build your own supportive network. It doesn't necessarily come to you. It's there if you want it, and you don't have to be presenting to be a part of it. You can just attend things. That's my high level advice. You could ignore the number of slides, by the way, because for some reason it includes ones which are hidden. So I've got 2 more slides and I'll ask questions and we can go over any of the bits I mentioned. If this talk is not at all what you thought it was going to be, please let me know, and I'll make sure the brief is clearer. What I want to say though is I am James. I'm James Reeves. You want to find me on LinkedIn. I have a company called Bedrock Data, and what we do is we help businesses with their data. Whether that's Power BI, whether it's databases, Excel, whatever. That's what we do. We help people. So if you have a need, give us a shout. And then the last one. Hang on, there we go. So every 27 seconds, somebody in the world is diagnosed with life-threatening blood cancer, like leukemia. But there's also sickle cell. There's lesser known ones. But every 27 seconds, someone's diagnosed with it. For most patients, it says for many there, I think it's actually most, a bone marrow transplant is the only way they're going to get through treatment because the treatment kills their bone marrow. But only 30% of them find a donor within their families. And an important bit, which is very often not mentioned, I think it's for fear of being seen as racist or things like that. If you are of an ethnic makeup, you need somebody of that same ethnic makeup to say, if you are, we all have an ethnic makeup. You need someone of the same ethnic makeup to be able to give you a donation. So if you represent a smaller part demographic, it's more important for you to donate because there's less people to donate, and I don't know whether it's a cultural thing or a religious thing, but the numbers say that actually non-white Western people, they don't, it just the numbers of donations are really, really small. So if you fit that criteria, please donate, because you could really save someone's life, because it's such a small pot. So by joining the bone marrow registry, it's a little swab inside your mouth. They send it to you, little swab, send it back. Takes you about a minute to request a pack, 30 seconds to do the swab, 30 seconds to stick it in a post box. So 2 minutes, and potentially you'd save someone's life. So please do. If you and so two people who are on the screen. So within our community, we have someone who has needed a lot of platelet and blood donations, and the little boy there is my nephew, who also needed a lot of donations. So just to put a human face, our community and mine personal. So yeah, if you go to that QR code or the one at the link at the bottom, they're both the same. It's how you can just register. That's all it is. Doesn't cost anything. Might save a life. It's cool. So I'm now on questions. Does anyone have any questions? I saw some things pop up on the chat. Yeah, so worked with a few data analysts and always wondered what the job is. I still can't tell you, and I've been doing it for years. It's, if anyone remembers Friends, Chandler Bing, I think it's very much that. No one knows what he did, but it was what it was. I would say most data analysts I know are actually data engineers, and that title makes more sense. Yeah. And a message from D saying that she still gets imposter syndrome, and I've worked on huge projects in a niche field. Yeah, it's tough. Imposter syndrome, especially when it makes you doubt, should I even be here? That's a hard one. So yeah, sorry to hear that. Doesn't surprise me, because it's the world we work in, sadly. I care about the wieners. Yeah, that's niche Friends knowledge. How do you start out your own consultancy? A chat in a bar in Amsterdam, actually, was how I started out. So I was working with another consultant. So we were both independently consulting to the same client, and then we got a third person who was also doing the same thing. And hang on, we keep ending up on, because we each do something slightly different. We keep ending up on the same project with various different people. Why don't we just form a squad together, and then we can go in as a group? And it's just, it's, you can get the bigger projects when it's just nice to know. So I know that if I know the skill sets of my two co-founders, and if I'm on a project with them, I know exactly, this is one for March and this one's one for Paul, and that's nice to be able to, because what I missed about I actually really like perm work, because I like having relationships with the people I work with, and as a consultant, that's a massive missing piece. It's very isolated, and it depends on the client you go to work with, but it can be very solo. You're not part of the wider team. So we formed the consultancy so that we have a group together. So yeah, Bedrock, or that way it should be, I think. We also do Bedrock Tech Talks. I'm gonna advertise an alternate user group. I hope you don't mind, John and Matthew.
You carry on.
Thank you. So Bedrock Tech Talks, we do a in-person meetup in Chester on the 4th Tuesday of every month, and we do a virtual one on the 4th Thursday of every month. So I've got one coming up tomorrow. We've got someone from Microsoft coming to actually be a good follow on to this one. William Asif, who has in the past been part of setting exams for Microsoft, and he's going to come and do a talk of how to think like a Microsoft exam. So because some of the questions are a bit weird, the way they're formatted, if you can understand how the person who set the exam was thinking, you could potentially get a boost. So that's at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Drop the link in the chat if you got the link. Put it in the chat, James, for people to.
Thank you. And so it's a question of whether I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, I am. And I love my my direct URL because I saw Power BI as a major thing a long time ago. I jumped far too early. I was a one-person individual. There was no way I was going to take companies on a journey onto Power BI at that stage. But my company was called Power BI Limited, and I got the link on LinkedIn at the same time, and I still got it. So I thought it was quite funny to have something like Power BI Limited as my link. That's not working for some reason. So I'll get the meetup.
I think
right.
Carl's just popped it in there now. Carl's just found it.
Oh, perfect. Cheers, Carl. Yeah, so that's me. And then the meetup is Bedrock Tech Talks. So it was D who posted it. Thank you, D.
Oh, was it D? Sorry, D. There we are. Brill.
And Carl's advertising Bristol. We're all advertising different ones. That's what I love. There's something, especially on this topic. If you're learning data analytics, there are meetups, and now that a lot of virtual, I think COVID actually did a lot of favors for people who are learning anything, especially Microsoft, but others as well, because it pushed a lot of virtual user groups. So now, if you fancy attending, I've got Power BI Turkey coming up. I would never attend Power BI Turkey. They do speak. They do it in English. I don't know why. But there's events all around the world in various languages. So and it's all free. It's great. People just give knowledge. That's what I love about this industry. It's not, you don't hold on to, oh, it's taken me 15 years to learn that. It's, I've taken 15 years, have it. It's great. It's yours, free. Take it. And I think that's fairly unique. That's one of the things I love about our world.
Oh, that's awesome, James. No, really good talk, and some good poignant messaging in there as well. So, yeah, it's always good to see these more personal stories, isn't it? I think I was saying at the beginning of the talk there, but it's great to see people's journeys and where they lead to. And yeah, like you say, that talk tomorrow about exams would tie in quite nicely, wouldn't it? It's always a great thing to be able to kind of mentor others and take them through that journey and actually make some of the stuff real to people. And like you say, yeah, imposter syndrome. I don't think I've gone a day without it, to be honest. It's the struggle's real.
It sucks. It's horrible. But what's nice is we're free to say that. We're talking about mental health, which is it was taboo for so many years. Just to outright say, yeah, I struggle. That's brilliant. The fact we can do that.
Yeah, no, it helps a lot of people. I think the society, industry, companies have changed drastically, I think, over the last 20 years, haven't they, to allow people to be a little bit more, open and honest and deal with things like that. So it's I mean, you can't, as much as there's the hard graft of learning and retaining detail and information and applying it appropriately. That's the world we live in. But yeah, equally, we don't know it all, do we? And it's okay to say, I need a bit of help here, guys. So James, honestly, brilliant talk. Thank you so much, and thanks for jumping in again earlier than you were meant to be. So really appreciate that. Yeah, everybody's getting on the emoticons. Is that the name? Is that what we call them? The react button. The react button. It's either come off mute or use a react. But no, honestly, James, thank you so much, sir. That was fantastic, as I was going to imagine anyway. So yeah, folks, obviously, hopefully everybody captured that ask there at the end as well for that QR code. Get that signed up for as James's request. So I'll certainly get that sorted as well now. Like I say, good poignant messaging as well. So No, thanks again, James. So I think what we'll do now, for those that joined just after my little intro, unfortunately, Gary can't be with us tonight, but we do have a recording of her session. So what I'll do, I'll play that. But I think what we'll do is we'll do the quiz first. So I'll hand you over to Matt, and let's get some
Excellent.
prizes won. And then what I'll do is I'll play that because obviously if Gary's not here, the session's not necessarily going to be interactive. It'll just be if you want to stick around and watch. Hopefully you do. She's been good enough to send that over to me. She sends her apology. She's genuinely had a family emergency she's had to attend to today. So yeah, let's do that then. So Matt, over to you, and
All righty.
everybody get your devices and web browsers at the ready.
Okay, let's get this one started. Everyone should be able to see my screen now.
Got you.
Please forget to check that, which would make it a really rubbish quiz.
Paul joining at the right time there, just for the QR code. So yeah, we're going to do the quiz first, Paul, and then we'll be into Gary's recorded session because unfortunately she can't join us in person now tonight.
Is that number deliberate?
No,
yeah.
it's random.
Sequel.
I'd love to say so.
Is it sequel? It is sequel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a default port for. Couldn't plan that, could you?
I applaud you for picking up on that. That's great.
I know, that is. You know when you've got a nerd on your hands, don't you? Data nerd.
Struggling to get in. Come in. What browser are people using? Is that work better with Edge or the one thing that does?
It should be anything Chromium based. So
How many folks we got in? We got 17 in the chat. So yeah, shout if you're struggling.
Yeah, I'll go to mobile.
Yeah, I use the mobile. I use Safari, to be honest, on the mobile. Seems to work quite well. So also waiting for folks to, yeah. We're going to do the four spot prizes.
Going to
Sorry,
quizzer.co.uk and then typing in the code worked. For some weird reason,
So
the
go to
direct
the
link
link.
didn't.
Yeah, I can't remember what actually the URL is. It builds.
Anybody else struggling to get in? I'm expecting to see what? Another 3-4 people.
Yeah, we're maybe one or two off a full set. That's good.
So the way I did it, I couldn't use Dee's link. I had to go to quizr.co.uk and then type 1433.
Yeah. Okay.
Top
Is
four,
anyone
Matt?
else?
Are we doing top four?
I think so. There's enough there.
So you got two £25 vouchers and 2 ebooks. ABD. Hang on, let me get you the titles. I think we'll do.
DevOps, wasn't it?
Yeah, let me get you the titles. We're struggling to find them. So it was the Mastering Azure Virtual Desktop, the second edition from Packet, and the Atlas and DevOps. I think we'll do the ABD as third prize, Atlas and as fourth prize, and 1 and 2 both £25 vouchers.
Okay.
What's the URL, John, again? Sorry.
Did you go to quizzer.co.uk? Ah, yeah, there we go. I did change the format. You're right. So not intentionally.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll add that to my bug list.
There we are.
Okay,
we all in.
Let's get this thing started.
Good for it.
Which Defender product is the closest alternative to CloudStrike Falcon? It should be CrowdStrike, that shouldn't it? I just realised I put a spelling mistake in there.
CloudStrike. Literally, that's what it was.
Yes. You might notice what was top of my mind when I was writing the questions. It was Defender for Endpoints. Well done. And just to remind everyone, it's the faster you answer, the more points you get. Which is not a product in Azure DevOps. Workspaces, repos, pipelines, or artifacts. It's workspaces. That's a GitHub one. What's the name of the suite of tools for processing and analyzing data? Suite of Azure tools for processing and analyzing data. Synapse Analytics. Complete the product name. GitHub Advanced what for Azure DevOps?
100% confusion.
Also cynical. Correct answer is security. That split the field a little bit. According to Microsoft, how many PCs were impacted by the CrowdStrike bug? And how many late nights were spent over the weekend, last weekend, rebooting and rebooting and rebooting and rebooting 8.5 million PCs. Some people came out of that as heroes, I suspect. An Azure Synapse Analytics workspace stores data in which of the following? Yes, you're right, Chris. 15 times. The old IT crowd joke of turn it on, turn it off, and turn it back on again 15 times over wasn't quite as funny, I suspect, at 3 o'clock in the morning for some people. Correct answer there was the one that nobody got, which was Apache Spark tables. Azure Synapse pipelines are based on which Azure service? Because you can tell I went down a Synapse rabbit hole this week. So
I'm always intrigued if you're using Gen AI for these ones, Matt, or were these?
No, these were all me. These were I was on a bit of a Synapse research thing.
Yeah.
And the question is Stream Analytics, which is actually not the right answer, which is weird because it should have been data workflow. So if you got that right, I apologize. I don't know what that does to the score. I made a mistake. How many hours of private Azure pipeline jobs do you get for free a month? I must have ticked the wrong box on that last question. How annoying. This is a super generous 30 hours. That one is right. Although they quickly get used up. Which .NET service was released at Build to help with application packaging and development? Was it .NET Compose, .NET Publish From, .NET TIE, or .NET Aspire? Yes, T, I apologize. Somebody will get a positive answer from there. The answer was Aspire. Very cool bit of tech if anyone's interested in looking at that. Which OpenAI model announced this month is now available on Azure AI?
First one I've known in about 5.
They were quite obscure subjects this week. I'm going to have to be a bit more generic next time, I think. Correct answer was GPT-4o Mini. I think that's it. And our winner is JL.
I won. No, I didn't win. I'll scrub myself. I kept going because I saw I was in first place, so I thought, well, I'm going for bragging rights here, Matt. Right. Top 4, Simon, Nick, D, I'm assuming that's you with the bolt, and Chris J. So congratulations to you
yes, it
4.
would be. Still trying to
right.
break the system.
Yeah, use the emojis, absolutely. Let me take a snip of it, but quickly, Simon, Nick, D, Chris, I know I may have some of your details, but either DM me or add your email in the chat with your name just so I can get those prizes sorted for you, if that's okay. I'm just taking a quick snip so I don't forget.
Stuck it in the chat, please, John.
Say again.
I stuck
Oh,
it
you've
in the
done it.
chat. please.
You've done it, Brill. Yeah, don't mind, guys. If you can put your emails in the chat, what I'll do, get the vouchers sorted, and obviously get those ebooks sent over as well. ASAP. Right, okay. So yes, for those again that didn't know, Gauri unfortunately has had a family emergency. She can't join us in person, but she has absolutely shared a pre-recorded version of her talk. So I'm hopeful if I can find it here now. I can, yeah, I guess as much. I'm gonna have to share my desktop and play it from that. So if you bear with, I'm gonna do exactly that and let her give herself an introduction. That's not her. That's her. Where's the old button to stop any interference? Do you remember, Matt, on the tiles?
The shared audio, or was it?
No, I've done the share to audio. How do you stop any pop-ups?
Oh, it's focus mode.
Yeah, where's focus mode gone?
I tend to just click on search and then hit focus.
Focus mode.
Yeah. I think if you go by that way, you can put a time on it. Start a focus session for a certain amount of time and it'll stop things popping up.
30 minutes. Oh, let's go for.
That's good. Never need that.
That'll do. Brill.
There's another really good one as well. If you're neurodiverse, I can't remember what it is. Control Windows C, I think it is.
Okay.
It puts captions up on the screen, so you can, as people are talking, it puts them on the middle of the screen.
Really? Control.
Yeah, it wasn't that. I just tried it and it wasn't that.
No. Okay. I will have to find out. They're always nice nice hints and tips, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm assuming you can see that as much as I can see that, right? So I just gotta back to full view. Oh, view. No, okay. I'm a guess I can make that full screen by doing that. Right, let me know if this comes through, but I'm going to let Gauri introduce herself. It's about 38 minutes long, so I'm just going to leave this running now, and we'll join you back at the end of the talk. So on that note, I'm going to hit play. I can't see the Teams chat either, so I'll just hit play and let this run, okay, guys? In fact, what I'll do, how do I mute? I'll play it and then I'll somehow mute. In fact, I'll mute myself first. God, who thought this would be so tricky? Right, I'm going to go on mute now.
Hello everyone, I'm Gauri Yadav and currently I'm working as a cloud intern in Bhumitat with over 2 years of experience in cloud and DevOps and cloud security and DevOps security. Other than that, I like writing and sharing technical knowledge on Medium and LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, we have 25K plus followers and I am on top mid as well. And I have guided 60 plus people regarding cloud and DevOps and how they can implement security. So, our today's focus is on mastering Azure DevOps from zero to deployment hero. Right now, let's have a look at it. So, hello everyone. So, today's session on accelerating DevOps and Azure as a mastering Azure DevOps from zero to hero deployment. So, my name is Gauri Yadav, and I'm excited to talk about how Azure DevOps can transform your software development delivery process to code build and Jenkins and CI/CD pipeline. Let's have a look at it. Right. So, what topics are we going to cover is understanding Azure DevOps, getting started with Azure DevOps, Azure pipeline deep dive, and enhancing collaboration with Azure boards. Enhancing collaboration with Azure boards, right? So before we delve into anything, let me give you a brief overview of what we'll cover today. First, we will define the Azure DevOps and then discuss why it is crucial in today's development landscape. And then we would discuss about key components and benefits it bring to your development process. After that, we would take a deep dive into Azure pipeline, explaining how you can set up and continuous integration and continuous delivery pipeline. We will also cover Azure boards and how it enhances collaboration within your team. By the end of this session, you would be having a clear understanding of how to get started with Azure DevOps and leverage its features to improve your development lifecycle. Right. So, first question that hit in my head is, what is actually Azure DevOps? Azure DevOps is a comprehensive suite of development tools and services offered by Microsoft. It supports the entire software development lifecycle, integrating deployment, testing, delivery, and monitoring at its core. Azure DevOps enables continuous integration (CI) and continuous delivery (CD), ensuring that software is built, tested, and deployed automatically and consistently. So now let's break it down a bit. Continuous integration is a practice of merging all the developers' working copies, a shared mainline several times a day. This practice helps catch bugs early and development cycle, making them cheaper and easier to fix. Continuous delivery, on the other hand, is the approach where team produce software in short cycles, ensuring that the software can be reliably released at any time. This approach aims to build the test and release software faster and more frequently. Azure DevOps also provides a wide range of tools to integrate seamlessly and support these practice. We will discuss these tools in detail shortly, right? Now let's move towards key components of Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps is consistent of several key components that work together to streamline your development process. Now let's look at these components in detail. So first we have Azure Repos. What is Azure Repos? This is a set of version control tools that you can use to manage your code. Azure Repos provide both Git repositories and Team Foundation version control, that is CFVC. For source control of the source, Git repositories support collaborative development and provide tools to track changes, manage bridges, and integrate with CI/CD pipeline. Next, we have is Azure Pipeline. What is Azure Pipeline? This is the CI/CD service that's central to our discussion today. Azure pipelines allow you to build, test, and deploy your code automatically and continuously, ensuring consistent and reliable application updates. You can use Azure pipeline with ensuring consistent and reliable application updates. You can use Azure pipeline with any language, platform, and code. Azure boards. Now, this is a set of agile tool to support planning and tracking work code defects and issue using Kanban Scrum methods. It provides a rich set of capabilities, including customizable dashboards, integrated reporting, and supports both Scrum and Kanban methodologies. Next, we have is Azure Test Plans. So, what are test plans? This component provides powerful, easy to use tool for planned manual testing, user acceptance testing, exploratory testing, and gathering feedback from stakeholders. It ensures you and your software meet the quality standards before it is even released in the market. Now, next we have is Azure Artifact. What is Azure Artifact? This service allows team to share and consume packages such as Maven, NPM, NuGet, Python packages from public and private sources. Azure Artifact helps you to manage your dependencies and integrate package management into your CI/CD pipeline. These components collectively support a robust DevOps workflow, making it easier to plan, develop, deliver, and monitor your software projects. Now, let's look at how is this even working, right? So, improved collaboration. How key benefits, how it does is key benefits, right? So what is improved collaboration? Azure DevOps fosters better teamwork and communication by providing unified platform where developers, testers, and project managers can collaborate seamlessly. The integration of all the tool in one platform ensures that everyone is on the same page and that hands off between stages of development cycle are smooth and efficient. Next key benefit we have is streamlined workflows. It integrates all the essential DevOps tools, reducing the complexity of managing separate tools and creating a consistent workflow. This integration ensures that there are fewer bottlenecks and the process is more efficient from planning to deployment. Then we have faster delivery time. So, what is faster delivery time? Automated CI/CD pipeline enables faster build, test, and deployment cycle, minimizing manual intervention. It reduces the risk. It reduces a lot of it even delivers new features. This speed is crucial in today's fast-paced world, and it even helps us to get into competitive edge, and it reduces turnaround time. Then we have scalability and flexibility. So Azure DevOps can scale with needs of any organization, from small startup to large enterprises, supporting hybrid and multi-cloud environment. This scalability means that Azure DevOps can grow with your organization, handling increased workloads and more complex projects as needed. Now we have enhanced quality and compliance. Automated testing and compliance checks that integrated into the pipeline ensures that the code meets the quality of the regularity standards before it reaches the production. This automation helps you in reduction and the risk of human error. Now let's move on and see. So now we are moving to the third part of section of our PPT and presentation, and that is like we would understand how we can make a DevOps pipeline and how we can accommodate like whole project. So what is this? This is the upper view or high level view of Azure DevOps. How components are flowing, how it is working. So according to the diagram, let's understand like how is it even working. Wait a second, let me take this down. Yeah. So how it is working. So we have first, we have GitHub. So, what is GitHub? GitHub is the source control and provide integration with Azure DevOps to trigger pipeline upon the code commits in a branch, right? Now, next we have is build setup. So, what is build? Build. This represents the build scripts and commands that will be executed in the Azure DevOps runtime agent to build projects, artifacts, and binaries. Azure DevOps will keep a history of all the build artifacts to provide rollback capabilities. The pipeline with the halt upon any errors detected during the build setup would be detected very early and can be solved very early. Then we have unit tests. So these needs to be implemented by the developer to make sure the main functionality of the project remains in the working condition at any given time. Unit tests can be configured to be executed as part of build setups and build steps. Pipeline will halt upon any error detected during the unit test and execution test. Then we have our artifact store. This artifact store. Why do we have this? Project artifacts and binaries will be stored in the Azure DevOps built in artifact storage location. Now it would wait for approval checks. Email will be sent to relevant approved before the deployment setup to UAT or RPD environment. Only if the approvals accept deployment, the pipeline will be proceeded forward with the deployment. Now, next we have deployment. If there are no pending approvals, the deployment will be started into configured Azure environment utilizing the provided DevOps service principle. Now, Azure Development Permission. What is that? Azure Service Connection is used to get necessary permission to deploy into Azure environment. A service principal with the required permissions to the Azure resources will be configured in Azure DevOps. Now we would look at the project setup, how our project setup is actually working. Right, so our project setup would be working with a GitHub repo. Now, in a GitHub repo, we would be having three function app that would be one would be dev, one would be UAT, one would be PRD. And then we would be having the GitHub branches. Now, let's have a look how we can create the function. So I have taken screenshot of my Azure account. This way you can create a resource group, and then you can create three different types of same method. You can create three different kind of apps that would be a function, right? And you can keep your configuration according to you. Now I'm creating a project. How we can create it? So simply create the project, give the name as DevOps demo, and keep it private. And you can add any name. This would help you create the project. Now let's have a look at how our project would be looking before even it is run, before it is deployed, right? So first we would have GitHub, and then we would have the source code. Then it would get into run and build unit test, and then our project artifact would be created. Now let's have a look at how we can create a new pipeline. I'm covering this right now because if I would not create a pipeline, then how we would get started. In the later on stage, I would explain everything, like what is Azure pipeline and how it is working and everything. Right now, we are just implementing it. So then I would go to Azure pipeline and create a new pipeline. So if I would choose GitHub, this would be promoted to the authorized DevOps access to your GitHub account. You need to connect your GitHub account with your GitHub credentials over here, right? And then afterwards, we need to select a relevant repository which we need to connect from our GitHub account to this DevOps pipeline, right? After that, I need to select Maven. And after selecting Maven, it would generate a Azure pipeline file. So how an Azure pipeline file would be displayed in the backend? Let's first understand what is this. So what would happen? If you would click on save and run, for every project, first triggered, it would trigger the build pipeline, then to build the project, then it would publish the project to Azure DevOps artifact storage. Currently, it has generated Azure pipelines.yml file only contains the build steps. We need to add build and publish steps. Please, if I would do the following changes, you would do the following changes. That would be, we would change the options to 1.17, and then we would allow DevOps assistant to archive files and then edit to Azure pipeline.yml into the root folder. Then we would be able after doing this, see, we need to archive, and then we need to add our archived files over here, and then we need to click on publish build artifacts. This would help us to create artifacts. Okay, this would help us create artifacts. Now let's move ahead. Now, after artifacts are created, we would create a Jenkins pipeline, that is a DevOps pipeline, right? So if we would click on this, this would update the Azure pipelines.yml file, and now the trigger values in the main. So now this is how it would be connected to our GitHub. And now this is how I need to connect my pipeline with this. So now this is what I'm doing is I'm registering my app so that it can run, right? So I would go here, and then I would go to app registrations, then I would create new registration, and then I would name it like whatever I want to name. You can keep name according to you. I have kept the name Azure DevOps Service Principal, and then after it I would register. After registering, what it would do is it will also create a service principal. Now the permission to deploy the binaries to the function apps needs to be given the SAPs and function PRD UAT. Okay. Now let's look at how we can do PRD and UAT. So we need to go to this access control management, that is IAM, and then we need to add on role assignment. Then we need to go and select website contributor. And after selecting website contributor, this whole page would be created. Now we would review and assign it directly. Now what review and assign would do is, with this completion of the above step that now we have discussed, using this the principal will be created, and the permission we would be adding to the configuration of Azure DevOps release pipeline. Now Now we need to add the principles to the pipeline, the project that we created earlier, that was DevOps demo, right? After creating DevOps demo, we need to create a new service connection. After creating new service creation, you need to perform few of the things with your account subscription credentials. That is why I'm not displaying it. And then we need to give the service special ID and all those things. If you would complete, it would give you whole connection thing and verify, and then you can verify and save it. Now if you want to release the pipeline, how you would release it? It would look like this, that your project artifact is ready. Now you need to deploy it and run the Azure function app. Okay, now we would go to this release new pipeline. Okay, and release new pipeline, we would give new role assignments, and then we would simply create the new pipeline, and then we would add new configuration and new release to the pipeline. And as soon as this would be applied and it would open in your local host in new tab, it would look something like this, that hello from dev or whatever like text you have given to respond. If you have given like hello, I'm Gauri, so hi Gauri, something like that. Okay, then I think our project setup is done. Now we need to discuss is like what is Azure pipeline, right? How we would like create it, how we would work upon it and everything. So now let's look at Azure pipelines deep dive. Now let's take a deep dive into Azure pipelines, which is one of the most powerful component of Azure DevOps. Azure pipeline is a CI/CD service that enables developers to automatically build, test, and deploy code to various environments, ensuring rapid and reliable software delivery. Azure pipeline supports a wide range of platforms like .NET, Java, Node.js, Python, and many more. Whether you are building a web application, a mobile app, or a desktop application, Azure Pipeline has got you covered. One of the key features of Azure Pipeline is the ability to define pipelines as code. Uh, this means that you can write everything in YML pipeline and versionize it along with your code, allowing you to track changes and collaborate with your team more effectively. Now, another important aspect of uh, Azure pipeline is integrating with various tools and services. Integrating with various tools and services. It integrates seamless with GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, Azure repos, making it easy to set up. CI/CD for repositories hosted on these platforms. Additionally, Azure pipelines support deployment to a variety of environments. Now, additionally, you can actually work with Azure, AWS, GCP, and on-prem servers as well. So Azure Pipeline also provides pipeline as a code feature. That is a rich set of features for managing buildings and release. You can define builds, agents, specifically build release. You can define build agents, specifically build release, triggers, manage environments, and configure approval gates. These features give you fine-grained control over your CI/CD process, ensuring that your code is always in deployable state. In this summary, I would like to say uh, that it is very good for us and it can really help us in build, test, and deployment process. Now let's look at this CI in very detail. Let's talk about CI. So CI is a key practice in modern software development that involves automatically building and testing code changes to ensure they integrate smoothly into the code base. Azure Pipeline supports CI with a wide range of features designed to streamline the integration process and catch issues early. Automated builds, one of the core features of CI is automated builds. Every time a developer pushes code changes to a repository, Azure Pipeline automatically triggers an automated build ensures that the code base is always in a buildable state and that any integration issues are caught early. Then we have build agents. Azure Pipeline uses build agents to execute build and test jobs. These agents can be hosted by Microsoft hosted agents, or set up on your own infrastructure, that is self-hosted agents. Microsoft hosted agents are pre-configured with commonly used tools and environments, making it easy to get started. Self-hosted agents, on the other hand, give you more control over the build environment and can be customized to meet specific requirements. Now we have parallel jobs, build triggers, build artifacts as well. So, what is parallel jobs? Azure Pipeline supports parallel jobs, allowing multiple builds and test jobs to run concurrently. These features can significantly speed up the build process, especially for large projects with extensive test suites. Parallel jobs help you ensure the feedback is delivered quickly, enabling developers to address issues promptly. Sorry. Build triggers. You can configure various triggers into initiate builds automatically. For example, you can set up CI trigger to start build whenever your code is pushed to a specific branch. You can also define scheduled triggers to run builds at regular intervals, such as nightly or weekly. Pull request triggers can be set to build and test code changes before they are managed into main branch, ensuring that only high quality code is integrated. Now we have build artifacts. So what is build artifacts? After a successful build, Azure Pipeline produces build artifacts, which are the output of the build process. These artifacts can include compiled binaries, libraries, documents, and other files. Build artifacts are stored and can be used in subsequent stages of the CI/CD pipeline, such as deployment and testing. By leveraging the CI, you can ensure that your code is always in a buildable state and that issues are identified and addressed early, and that your deployment process is streamlined and it is efficient. Now let's move on to CD. That is, this practice extends CI by automatically deploying code changes to various environments. After they pass the build and test stages, CD ensures that your application is always in a deployable state and that new feature, bug fixes, and improvements are and can be delivered to users quickly and reliably. Now, Azure Pipeline provides robust CD features to automate the deployment process and manage release effectively. Automated deployments. With Azure Pipeline, deployments to various environments such as deployment, staging, production can be automated. Automated deployments reduce the risk of human error and ensure consistent and repeatable deployment process. You can define deployment pipeline that specify the steps and conditions for deploying your application to each environment. Now we have multi-stage pipelines as well. Azure Pipeline supports multi-stage pipeline, which allow you to define complex workflows that include multiple stages such as build, test, deploy, and validate. Each stage can have its own state or job, right? And then you can test it, build it, deploy it, validate it. And then these condition between stages, multiple stage pipeline enable advanced deployment stages like blue-green deployment, canary release, and rolling update. Then we have environment management. Azure Pipeline provides tools for managing environments and deployment targets. You can define environments such as deployment staging, production, and configure deployment targets. For each environment, deployment targets can include Azure resources, on premises, servers, and Kubernetes clusters and more. You can also manage environment-specific variables and secrets, ensuring that sensitive information is protected. Then we have approval gates. To ensure quality and compliance, Azure pipelines allow you to set up approval gates for deployment. Approval gates require manual approval before a deployment can proceed to the next stage or environment. This feature is particularly useful for production deployment where additional security and verification are needed. Approval gates help ensure that deployments meet quality and compliance standards before they reach users. Then we have release management. Azure pipeline includes release management feature that allow you to track and manage releases, right? And identify and address issues very quickly. Then we have that we can integrate various tools. Azure Pipeline integrates seamlessly with various tools, services, enhancing its versatility and making it suitable for a wide range of development scenarios. Let's explore some of them. So, source code integration. Azure Pipeline integrates with the popular version control system, including GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, and Azure repos. This integration allows you to set up CI/CD pipelines for repositories hosted on these platforms. You can configure pipeline to trigger build and deployment based on the code changes, pull requests, and branch policies. The tight integration with the source control ensures that your CI/CD process is closely aligned with your version control workflow. Extensive marketplace. The Azure DevOps marketplace offers a wide range of extensive and extensions, and it enhances the functionality of Azure pipelines. These extensions integrate Kubernetes and more. For example, you can use Slack integration to receive notification about pipeline status and build results, right? Now we have support from multiple languages and platforms. Azure Pipeline supports a wide range of programming languages, frameworks, and platform, making it suitable for different types of projects. Whether you are deploying a .NET application or Java service or Node.js or web app or a Python script, or Azure Pipeline has the tools that are support you in your need. Yeah, it has like the flexibility ensures that you can use Azure Pipeline for any project regardless of any technology stack. Then we have integration with build and test tools. So Azure Pipeline integrates with a variety of build and test tools, enhancing CI CD processes. For example, it supports build tools like Maven, Gradle, MS Build, NPM. It also integrates with test framework like JUnit, NUnit, XUnit, and then Selenium. These integrates allow you to automate your build and test processes, ensuring that your code is thoroughly tested before development. Now, monitoring and logging. Azure pipelines integrate with monitoring and logging tools to provide visibility into your CI/CD process and deployed application for you to collect and analyze telemetry data from your application. This integration helps you to monitor the health and performance of your application. Now, let's move forward to the next, that is pipeline as a code. Azure pipeline. Now we have YML pipeline. Azure pipelines allow you to define pipelines using YML, yet another markup language. YML pipelines are stored as code in your repository, enabling you to version and manage your pipeline definition alongside your application code. This approach ensures that your pipeline configurations are consistent and can be reviewed and defined build. Now, how you can do this? So to the main branch, install Node.js, install dependencies, run test, then archives the build, our builds, outputs, and publish the build artifact. You can extend the pipeline to include additional stages. Then pipeline templates. Azure Pipeline supports pipeline templates which allow you to define reusable pipeline components. You can create templates for common tasks and referenced in multiple pipelines, reducing the duplication and ensuring consistency. Templates are particularly useful for large projects with multiple pipelines as they simplify maintenance and enable reuse of common configuration. Then we have pipeline variables. You can use variables in YML pipeline to parameterize your pipeline definition and make them more flexible. Variables allow you to define values that version, members, environment names, and resources identifies. Azure Pipeline supports variable groups which allow you to manage and show variable across multiple pipelines. Now we have this. Um, Key features of Azure Pipeline, right? Yes, now let's talk about it. So now let's understand what are key features. So testing and assurance that we get while having this. So key pipelines, we should keep our pipelines very simple. And what else we can do? Testing and reporting, and then we can get integrate like testing we can test various what do we call that frameworks, and if we can enable like different type of features. Then what we need to do is we can configure the pipeline, select the repository that would be promoted to, and then we can edit the YML file once the starter of the YML file, and then we can run the pipeline after saving the YML file. Azure pipeline will be automatically running and it would be up. Then we have conditional execution. You can define conditions of execution, task or stages in your pipeline. These features would help you with a lot of things. Then we have pipeline triggers, then we have multiple builds, then we have environment approvals and gates, then we have external tools, then we have custom tasks and executions, right? So now let's move on to our new, that is hmm. Now let's have a look at what is Azure Board, right? So Azure Board is a service provided by Microsoft Azure that helps you plan, track, and discuss work across your teams. It is an integral part of Azure DevOps and provides you with a rich set of capabilities to support agile planning and tracking, including Kanban boards and backlogs and team dashboards and customer reporting. And this is how an Azure board looks. Now let's move forward and understand what enhances it this much. So, what are the key features, right? So, work item tracking or Kanban boards or Scrum support or backlog management. These are few of the things. So Azure boards allow you to track all your work items and can represent anything that you need to track, such as user stories, tasks, bugs, features. This tracking ensures that every piece of work is accounted for the management effectively. Then we have this Kanban boards. One of their standout features is the Kanban boards. These boards allow you to visualize and manage the flow of the work through different stages. You can customize the columns to match your workflow, drag and drop the work items between columns, and see glance. So now we have Scrum support. What is Scrum support? For teams using Scrum, Azure Boards provides robust support and features with the sprint planning, task board, and backlog. You can easily manage your sprint, plan and prioritize your backlog items, and track the progress of your tasks throughout the sprint. Then we have backlog management. Azure Boards allow you to create and prioritize your product backlog. You can add user stories, bugs, and features to your backlog and order them based on priority. This helps you ensure that the most important work is tackled first and then everyone is aligned on the needs to be done. Then we have dashboard and reporting. Dashboard in Azure boards provide you with a customizable view of your project's progress. You can add widgets to track key metrics, view button down and the charts, and monitor the team performance. The built-in reporting features offer insights into the health and status of your project and helping others. Now we have collaboration and communication. So discussion and mentions. Each and every work team is the part of discussion, and every mentions is gone or it is made available for people so that they can see, provide screenshots, and collaborate over problem solving. Right? Then we have integrating deployment tools with Azure DevOps. So Azure Board is a part of Azure DevOps suite, which means it integrates seamlessly with other Azure DevOps services like Azure Repos, Azure Pipelines, Azure Test Plans, and integration provides different kind of features. Then we have collaboration and communication. So discussions and mentions. So member through the feature feels that discussion and mentions are the notifications and are the most important part of the discussion as well, and they feel prioritized as well, and sending screenshots and other things also help you and help us reach collaborative problem solving. So with this, I would like to end the session. Thank you for joining this session on Azure Pipeline. I hope you now have a solid understanding of how to set up and optimize CI/CD workflows using Azure Pipeline. If you have any further questions or need assistance, feel free to reach out to me. Have a great day and happy coding.
There we go. Spring back to life. So I would say thank you to Gauri for that. Obviously, she's not here in person. I'm assuming everybody can still hear me for a minute. Yeah?
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen again?
Yes, exactly. So let's wrap this up. Right, thanks to all the quiz winners. I'll get all of that sorted now this evening, and you'll keep an eye on your inboxes. But we'll bring this one to a close and find my closing slide, of course. So yeah, thank you hugely to the two speakers that we had on tonight. James, fantastic talk there on the journey into the career of a data analytics position. You know, some great bits around being a mentor, and obviously you know what that kind of journey looks like. So huge shout out and thank you to James. And obviously, Gauri, you know, appreciate. Thanks for sending the recording through. You know, appreciate you can be here in person. But yeah, that brings us on to our little feedback form. If anybody has got a couple of minutes just to spare and give us a little bit of feedback, that would be superb. And save the date. Our next talk is on the 21st of August, usual time, 6:30. So for now, we'll bring it to an end. So thank you everybody for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers all.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.